Language is described as a systematic means of communicating ideas and feelings through the use of signs, sounds, gestures, or words that hold meaning. Now imagine not being able to perform such a simple task like ordering a coffee, sending a quick text, or just holding a simple conversation. This situation can happen to anyone, whether it be they have suffered from brain damage due to stroke or a traumatic injury, or have developed a brain disorder that caused aphasia. Aphasia is not a disease, but a symptom of brain damage. Having aphasia makes communicating with another person much more difficult compared to someone without these damages. Aphasia can make it difficult to understand what others are saying, like maybe a joke, or difficulty talking because you can't find the right words to use, or you get your words confused by saying wish dasher instead of dishwasher, as well as having difficulty reading and writing when trying to spell and put words together to form sentences. Because there are very many types of aphasia, they can be categorized into two categories. Fluent aphasia, also known as Wernicke's aphasia. In this form of aphasia, the ability to comprehend language is impaired while language production seems to work very well. People with Wernicke's aphasia are able to speak using grammatically correct sentences, but they often don't make much sense or use made-up words sometimes without realizing this mistake. Wernicke's aphasia presents damage in the areas of the brain important for processing meaning of words and speech. Second type of aphasia, Broca's aphasia or non-fluent aphasia. This form of aphasia affects the individual's fluent speech while their ability for comprehension remains intact. An individual with Broca may be able to understand simple grammar when spoken, but have a harder time following more complex grammatical structures. For example, Mary gave John balloons would be easily more understandable than the balloons were given to John by Mary. Broca's aphasia is named after French scientist Paul Broca, who studied brain damage from a patient who could only say the word tan. Lesions found in the left hemisphere of the brain has made us assume that the left hemisphere is more dominant in language production, showing signs of it being responsible for naming things and coordinating muscles involved with speech. Wernicke's area is located near the auditory cortex behind the Broca. This area is associated with processing words we hear when being spoken and adding meaning. Aphasia can be brought on through damage to both of these areas of the brain, responsible for speech and language, including the left hemisphere inferior frontal gyrus. Although evidence shows other areas of the brain that help support areas involved in communication, fMRI scans have shown brain activity in the areas of the brain responsible for movement. For example, hearing the word dance or jump can activate the areas of the brain responsible for movement, or they become active as if the body was actually performing these movements, when in reality it's not. These areas of the brain not associated with language help when communication becomes hard for people with aphasia. The right hemisphere also contributes to language by enhancing the rhythm or intonation of speech. Another form of aphasia is primary progressive aphasia. This aphasia is not caused by stroke or injury. It's a disorder of language. Commonly, this disorder is found as an articulatory problem with speaking, developing into a more severe case where speech is disabled by comprehension, but comprehension remains unaffected. People with PPA are battling against a condition that will take away their ability to speak. The best course of action for this type of aphasia is to continuously practice language until aphasia has progressed to the point that this is not possible. For those with Broca's aphasia, speech therapy is the best form of treatment. In cases of Broca's aphasia, studies have shown that speech therapy helps improve the brain's neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. Neuroplasticity lets nerve cells fix the damages to the brain by allowing the other hemisphere to take over some functions compensating for the damage. Scientists have conducted studies that help the brain's neuroplasticity in people with aphasia. Now, some tips for communicating with those with aphasia are to 1, get their attention before speaking, 2, talk in a quiet environment, 3, normal voice levels, or there's no need to raise your voice unless they are asking you to, 4, keep words simple, don't talk down to them, they still understand everything that you are saying, and 5, use short, simple sentences that they will be able to understand, or questions that require only a yes or no response. And now you know more about aphasia.